grab a pen
Yeah.
for you.
Okay.
Yeah, let me know where to come up. I'm happy to share.
You're gonna
It
be
said
close.
3
so-
minutes,
uh-huh.
so
Yeah.
I can.
It's going to be relatively near the end.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
It says after the... Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder on this almost first day of the new year. Hello, my name is Ray Knudson, and I'm very pleased to be your worship leader for today's service. We welcome all at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. All of you are welcome, and all of you are sacred. Whatever your past was like, whatever the present situation is for you, we invite you to journey into the future together. And welcome to all of those of you joining us via the internet. The chat box will be open if you need to get a message to us. And if you are a new online visitor, please email our office administrator, Amy Zen, and let us know how you found us. You will find her email listed in the Zoom chat. Our church website is also a source of a great deal of information, our programs and our activities. Now, for those of you online, please ensure your microphones remain muted as you join us and the others gathered in worship. Thank you.
We make plans, and then the world has other ideas about how it's going to go. This was to be a question box service, a time to pose any and all questions to me, and I would answer them on the spot instead of a sermon. But today we're taking a different path, so we're going to come back to that later in the spring. You'll still have a chance to try and stump me. But today we make a different path, steering into the loss and the uncertainty of the fire that destroyed so much just down the street, including the total destruction of at least 2 homes of families in this congregation. We face the reality of that trauma. We face the reality of climate change. And we gather in solidarity and community to do what is within our power to do. Our words for the call to worship are by the poet Amanda Gorman, and she writes this called New Day's Lyric to honor the hardships, hurt, and healing of 2021, while also hearkening the potential of 2022. New Day's Lyric. May this be the day we come together. Mourning, we come to mend. Withered, we come to weather. Torn, we come to tend. Battered, we come to better. Tethered by this year of yearning, we are learning that though we weren't ready for this, we have been readied by it. Steadily, we vow that no matter how we are weighed down, we must always pave a way forward. This hope is our door, our portal. Even if we never get back to normal, someday we can venture beyond it to leave the known and take the first steps. So let us not return to what was normal, but reach towards what is next. What was cursed, we will cure. What was plagued, we will prove pure. Where we tend to argue, we will try to agree. Those fortunes we forswore, now the future we foresee. Where we weren't awake, we're now awake. Those moments we missed are now these moments we make, the moments we meet. And our hearts, once altogether beaten, now altogether beat. Come, look up with kindness yet, for even solace can be sourced from sorrow. We remember not just for the sake of yesterday, but to take on tomorrow. We heed this old spirit in a new day's lyric. In our hearts we hear it. For Auld Lang Syne, my dear. For Auld Lang Syne, be bold, sang time this year. Be bold, sang time. For when you honor yesterday, tomorrow you will find, know what we've fought need not be forgot, nor for none. It defines us, binds us as one. Come over, join this day, just begun. For wherever we come together, we will forever overcome. Friends, it is a great pleasure to say for the first time in a very long time, will you rise in body or in spirit to sing together? My friend and colleague, the Reverend Amy Beltane, suggests a 5-step plan for handling things that don't go our way. And she put this together, I think, originally for kids, but I think it actually applies very well to adults also. So, all ages. All right, 5-step plan. Step 1, scream! The next line here is, oh wait, since this is a sanctuary, we aren't going to scream out loud. But friends, especially the many, many of you online, you should feel free. You have my permission to scream and yell and stamp your feet in a safe place to do that. And if screaming isn't your thing, do something physical. I mean, jazzercise, do push-ups, whatever it is. Right here and now, whether you are in person or at home, we can pretend to scream. So close your eyes just for a sec. I know I get self-conscious when screaming. Close your eyes. Think of everything that makes you angry and frustrated and fighting mad, and feel it in your body. And notice what happens. I feel my fists tightening. I feel my core tightening. Do that more. Clench your fists. Press your feet into the floor, wherever you are, and squinch your face up. I'm going to look out. I want to see mad. Mad. No, more mad. Yes, exactly. All right, matter. Good. Now, relax. Shake it out. I mean, literally, like, shake your body out. When a rabbit almost gets eaten by a hawk, almost gets eaten, but then gets away, it shakes it off. Like, literally, once it gets to a safe place, it shakes it out. It's okay to shake it out. Step 2 of the 5-step plan, I think, is less self-conscious than step 1, but much harder. Because step 2 is be nice to yourself. Be nice to yourself. You get to feel your feelings. Maybe you feel like crying? You should cry. Maybe you feel like going back for a second round of screaming. Go do that. Maybe you got so upset you forgot to eat or drink or sleep enough, or maybe you ate or drank or slept too much. Y'all, be compassionate to yourselves. It's so much easier to be compassionate towards others, I think, than to turn that back in towards yourself. You're here right now. And step 2 is be nice to yourself instead of beat yourself up. So, we are going to, all together, give ourselves a hug. Just wrap your arms around you. Give yourself a squeeze. Do this for the next 45 minutes. Do this for the next 4 years. It's good, though. It's good to be good to yourself. All right, here's step 3. Step 3 is think about other people out there who could use your help. Maybe you can think of a friend, a relative, a kid in your life, someone who might be feeling scared right now. One of the best things that you can do, selfishly for yourself, when you feel stuck at the bottom of the well, when you feel trapped by despair or overwhelmed, one of the very best things you can do to get yourself out of that place is service for someone else. Now, that doesn't mean fixing them. That doesn't mean calling them up and saying, you lost your home. Well, I've got a solution for you. No. It means just accompanying and being there. Most of all, it means being a listening ear, doing what you can to help. Step 4, building on that, is to look for the helpers. To think about everyone who's helped you in your life, teachers and parents and friends. And to think of the helpers. This was Mr. Rogers' line always, that as so many thousands of people were evacuating this week, there were hundreds of first responders going in the opposite direction, running towards those fires instead of away from them. You are special too, and strong enough to do what matters, but most importantly, what this step is about is the reminder that you don't have to do this all alone. You're not in this alone. There are always helpers out there. The suggestion for this one, and I like it, and I know we're a bunch of grown people, but I'm going to invite you to do this anyways, is to pick your favorite superhero pose to embody your helperness. If you need to close your eyes for this one too, you should go for it. All right, everybody, especially online, let's see superhero poses. Yeah, they're in the room, they're going for it. Yeah. That's good. All right, here's step 5. Take action. What can you do? Because it matters what you do. It doesn't have to be big, but you can do something. So you put on your thinking caps and you say, all right, how can I help? Do I have a few extra dollars that I can contribute? Do I have a few extra hours that I can contribute? Can I reach out to folks I know who are affected, who might need a new pair of boots because every piece of clothing except what was on their back is gone now? What can you do? So there's the simple 5-step plan. Sprinkled along through all of it is a healthy dose of laughter and absurdity that attends even in the midst of tragedy. Friends, for all who are joining us online, if you have a candle or a chalice near your computer, please get ready to light it and type into the chat box where your chalice is lit, the street or neighborhood, what city if you're joining us from outside of the county. I share these words for chalice lighting from 2 folks who have joined us online this morning, the Reverend Carlton E. Smith, who's the lead for the Pacific Western region of our Unitarian Universalist Association, and the Reverend Summer Albayati, who's the person on that Pacific Western region team who serves as our primary contact with the UUA. These are the folks that we turn to and reach out to when things go bad, and I'm so grateful to have you with us this morning. They share these words: we join you today in the spirit of solidarity following the Marshall Fire, which brought so much devastation and disruption to your communities. They very kindly say, we give thanks for powerful and faithful leaders like Reverend Dana and Reverend David and all who reached out to check in on people, make sure they're okay. We give thanks that in the midst of so much loss of property, the physical harm to individuals seems to have been minimal. We give thanks that things are as well as they are. And we give thanks for our Unitarian Universalist Association and the covenant among our member congregations, coast to coast and beyond, to support one another in crises like this. The mountain desert district of which this congregation is a part is in the process of officially merging with the Pacific Western Region districts to become the Pacific Western Region. It matters because the Mountain Desert District Board transferred our district disaster relief funds into the Unitarian Universalist Association Disaster Relief Fund last year. And they write, we encourage those of you who need financial support, apply to the Disaster Relief Fund. You can find this just by Googling it, UUA Disaster Relief Fund. You can consider giving to the fund as well, and that link is there also. They continue, UU Church of Boulder, we love you very much. And regardless of how upsetting and terrifying the events of these last few days have been, know that you are not by yourself. We, as your UUA staff in the Pacific Western region, are here for you and will be here for you in the year ahead and beyond. And we leave you with these words by the Reverend Wayne Arneson, found in our hymnal. He says this, which is easy to say and hard to remember: take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. But take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone.
We now invite all those gathered in your various locations to join together in fellowship and community as we all say aloud together our congregation's covenant. We gather in fellowship to speak truth to each other, to reach out and touch one another, to care with each other, and to seek the truth divine. So be it. Thank you.
I invite you into a time of prayer and meditation, which is a time of centering and a time of settling. Breathe deep the breath of life and be here now. Will you take a breath with me? That's a good start. Will you take a sigh with me? A deep breath in and a big sigh out. There's a big sigh and a few muttered profanities. It's the week it is. Our words for meditation are by the poet Robert Walsh, and this is called Fault Line. Did you ever think there might be a fault line passing underneath your living room? A place in which your life is lived, in meeting and in separating, wondering and telling, unaware that just beneath you is the unseen seam of great plates that strain through time, and that your life, already spilling over the brim, could be invaded, sent off on a new direction, turned aside by forces you were warned about but not prepared for. Shelves could be spilled out, the level floor set at an angle, in some seconds shaking. You'd have to take your losses, do whatever must be done next. When the great plates slip and the earth shivers and the flaw is seen to lie in what you trusted most, look not to more solid, weighty slabs of concrete poured. Look not to the strength of cantilevered beam to save the fractured order. Trust more the tensile strands of love that bend and stretch to hold you in the web of life that's often torn but always healing. There's your strength. The shifting plates, the rest of earth, your room, your precious life, they all proceed from love, the ground on which we walk together. In this moment, we remember the connection that unites all of us, the ways that our lives are woven together, the way that any break in the weaving touches all of us. This morning, we remember and we hope to be present to the difficult things in life. Even though they break our hearts, we remember that to be heartbroken is to be strong, is to be aware and awake and alive, engaged in life. We hope and we pray for the strength not to be stuck in our own private despairs, but to lift our eyes to each other, to the world beyond our living rooms, and remember that we're woven together as one, even in the midst of unimaginable loss. Amen. Each week when we gather, we share our sorrows and our joys with each other. We practice intentionally, not living our private, bottled-up life, showing the world a face where everything is just fine and perfect. Instead, we share our joys and our sorrows, the things we hope for and the things that we worry over. Those of you gathered in the room, as the music begins, I'll invite you to come down the aisle on the right side as you feel moved, and place a stone into the earth here. These little bits of mountain worn by water and time, feel the weight of it in your hand. Put some of the warmth of your body into that stone. and then place it into the sacred earth of the Ute and Arapaho people. And friends who join online, I invite you in the chat, as you'd like, to share a joy or a sorrow. For all these blessings and concerns, as well as those that remain silently on our hearts, we hold this compassionate space with love. And among the folks joining online, we offer gratitude for those who can be present, sorrow for those who have lost their homes, blessings to have children and grandchildren visiting over the holiday, happiness to be at this service, joy getting to spend Christmas with a 97-year-old father in Pennsylvania, and sorrow and strength for everyone who is suffering. Thank you, friends, for all the ways you bless each other.
Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing in dark and rain, sorrow and pain, still you remain singing.
Why? There are at least two kinds of why. First, what's the purpose for which this happened? But I don't believe in that. Natural disaster is natural disaster. It isn't punishment or reward or anything other than dumb luck. There's no transcendent meaning to wind blowing over a power line in dry grass. But there is another kind of why to ask. Why did we see a wildfire burn nearly 1,000 homes at the end of December? And the answer to that why is very simple: climate change. Denver and Boulder saw the latest snowfall ever in the season. When I came out, I Googled, what are the snow months in Denver? And the internet told me the first snowfall of winter for Denver often arrives in October. But snow can begin as early as September or as late as November. Before this last storm, we've had 1.5 inches of precipitation since August. So in the 5 months since I arrived in this state, that is how much water has fallen from the sky. That's not normal, and that's the new normal. The world is changing in front of our eyes. We are adaptable. As humans, it's one of our defining characteristics. Adaptable is how you got to join the service this morning. Adaptable is how people evacuated. Adaptable is making the plans after the home is gone. That's adaptable. And even as we adapt to the effects of climate change, I hope we don't get too well adjusted. I hope we stay maladjusted to this reality, to a drought that isn't 1 year long, but decades long. Nonetheless, we are a people of hope, even as we stay maladjusted to climate change. We're a people of hope for ourselves and each other and the world. Hope, says Václav Havel, hope is a state of mind, not a state of the world. You have hope within us, or you don't. Hope is not a prognostication. Hope is not a guess about how the future is going to turn out. It's an orientation of the Spirit that you can't delegate to anyone else other than you. Hope is this deep and powerful sense. It's not the same as joy when things are going well. It's not the same as willingness to invest early in enterprises headed for success. Hope is an ability to work for something to succeed. Hope, he continues, is definitely not the same as optimism. It's not the conviction that something will turn out well, but the certainty that something makes sense regardless of how it turns out. It makes sense to help the folks who are displaced. It makes sense to help the folks who lost their homes. It makes sense to work to slow and stop as best we can climate change. It is hope, above all, that gives us strength to live and continually try new things, even in conditions that seem as hopeless as ours do here and now. In the face of this absurdity, life is too precious a thing to permit its devaluation by living pointlessly, emptily, without meaning, without love, and finally, without hope. So take courage, friends. The way is often hard and the path never clear, and the stakes, of course, are very high. But deep down, there's another truth, that you're not alone. You see it in looking for the helpers. I know it as Reverend Dana and I are available. Reach out to us. You're not alone. I know it with the work of the Caring Committee, who can organize logistics and meals, who can help find coats, whatever's needed. You're not alone. I know that too in the resources of the Minister's Discretionary Fund. Reach out to me if you have an immediate need. We're here to support you. When an event like this occurs, one of the first things that happens is we realize and feel how profoundly out of control the world is, that there's nothing we can do but evacuate, or nothing we can do but watch it burn. I can imagine this even in the firefighters who don't fight a fire when the wind is blowing 100 miles an hour because it's too dangerous. Feeling out of control, all together. And then undergoing and experiencing the loss, the physical loss of possessions, of homes, the emotional loss of our own safety, of the way that what seemed like such a solid thing, a home, a lifetime, can disappear. That's loss. And when you feel that way, so often it's a feeling of being overwhelmed. Sometimes that shows up as a feeling of stuckness. You don't know what to do or where to go or how even to process it. You spend the evening scrolling through headlines or Facebook or Twitter. You spend the evening with a bottle. You spend the evening trying to get out of yourself because it's too much to be there in the room with you. On the far side of that is disorientation. On the far side of being overwhelmed is the sense of not knowing what comes, and nonetheless having to live and make a new life in the midst of that. The outcome eventually perhaps is that new plans can be set in motion, you can restructure, you can rebuild, and that there is no project plan for just how that happens and when. Grief comes in waves, sometimes so strong that it makes functioning difficult. Sometimes it's numbness. Sometimes you can sit down and make your to-do list and start to put life back together again, only to be blindsided by that overwhelm and disorientation. That's not just you. And it doesn't mean that anything's going wrong. I mean, it means things have gone wrong, but not that anything's going wrong with you. It's what it is to be in the midst. Everyone feels worried or scared sometimes. And I want to take a moment to work on calming the body, an exercise to calm the body when you're feeling worried or scared. This is 4-7-8 breathing. So when you breathe in, your heart speeds up, and when you breathe out, your heart slows down. And when you need to calm your body, when you need to slow yourself down, you can use this exercise that helps you spend more time breathing out than breathing in. So what we're going to do is take a big breath, fill up your lungs, count of 4, hold it to the count of 7, and then breathe out for the count of 8. So breathe in for 4, hold for 7, out for 8. Figuring out that pacing is going to take a little bit of practice. And at least once, you're not going to have a full breath on 4, you won't get it all out by 8. That's okay. Let's try it all together. A big breath, fill up the lungs. I'll count. So in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Let's do that again. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Look, everyone's got different bodies and different lungs. If that doesn't feel good or work for you, you can change the numbering a little. The important thing is that you're exhaling longer and more slowly than your inhale. Let's do that together one last time. I'll do it silently. I'll do it with you. There is, of course, a place for rage and overwhelm and disorientation. There's a place for anger and sorrow and grief. This breathing exercise, slowing yourself down, it's not because those emotions are bad things to have or to feel. It's that sometimes when you feel overwhelmed and you don't want to be in that place anymore, this is a help to get you out from there. In this moment of uncertainty for the future, for the climate, for the neighborhood, we reaffirm our connection with each other and we recommit ourselves to be love's people in the world, remembering the deeper truth that we are not alone. Friends, will you rise in body or in spirit and join in singing?
Father Spirit, where are you? In the skies or in the forest sounds your cry. What to give you, what to call you, what am I? Many drops are in the ocean deep and wide. Sunlight bounces off the ripples to the sky. What to give you, what to call you, who am I? I am empty, time flies from me. What is time? Dreams eternal, fears infernal haunt my heart. What to give you, what to call you, oh my God. Father Spirit, take
4 in, 7 hold. This month our offering goes to the Boulder Food Rescue. Boulder Food Rescue was developed in 2011 when 2 University of Colorado researchers discovered that enough food is thrown away or otherwise wasted each day to feed everyone who goes hungry in Boulder and Broomfield counties. It's a need made all the more acute with the hundreds displaced by fire this week. I am delighted to introduce Hayden Dansky, Executive Director of Boulder Food Rescue, to say a few words about this important work. Hayden?
Hi, thank you. Thanks, that was beautiful. So, as it was spoken about, Boulder Food Rescue works to redistribute food that would otherwise be wasted and take that directly to food insecure people in our community. We distribute that food from grocery stores about 12 times a day, every day of the week, to about 40 different communities across Boulder, and we do as much as possible by bicycle. So if you ever see volunteers out biking around with a cart full of food, that's us. Definitely give them a wave and a thank you for their hard work. Food waste is an immense issue when it comes to the climate crisis. 40% of everything we produce, we throw away. If it were a country, it would be the 3rd largest contributor to greenhouse gases behind the U.S. and China. So when we talk about, the effects that we're seeing, like this week from that, one of the things that we're trying to do is address that issue by trying to get that perfectly good food to people that need it. It was just spoke about how hope is an action, and I think that is kind of a big core piece of Boulder Food Rescue and what we're trying to do in the midst of these really big issues. Take those little actions that we can do day to day. Meanwhile, prior to the pandemic, about 1 in 8 people are struggling with food insecurity, which means maybe they don't have enough food to get through the day. Maybe it means they don't have access to the foods that look and taste good to them, that are familiar to them. They have to go to pantries or other emergency service relief agencies to be able to get food to feed their families. Since the pandemic, that has only increased. 1 in 6 people in Boulder are experiencing that, and those effects are going to be long term. When we think about the fires and the struggle that people just faced, long after some of us that maybe didn't lose our homes are going to be kind of moving on, other people are going to be struggling to bounce back. And that's also what we see throughout the pandemic. People who have never experienced food insecurity are experiencing it for the first time and will for a long time. And so what we do is take that food directly to those communities. We take it directly to affordable housing sites, preschools, daycares, places where people are already gathered. That way we can decrease those barriers to accessing food, like transportation or open hours of operation to get to a site. And then we work with those communities to distribute the food amongst themselves. So community members and residents, they are a part of the programs. They receive the food, sort the food, get it out to their neighbors, and they do it in a way that works for them. So instead of us, also like was spoken about, instead of us trying to go in and fix a community or tell them what's best, we really say, here's this resource, do you want it? And then they figure out a creative way to get it to their neighbors. And that was huge in the pandemic. When people couldn't leave their homes, people knew who wasn't moving and who needed what food, and they would receive that food and do these no-contact, really creative solutions to get food directly to people's doors. And we're primarily focused on fruits and vegetables, those healthier foods that are harder to get or harder to afford if you're struggling to make ends meet. And so it not only distributes food, but we're decreasing the shame and stigma that it takes to access those resources. It's for community by community. It's neighbors, supporting neighbors. And it also gives people a sense of ownership and power and leadership within their communities. So we don't really like to say that we empower people, but instead, people have power, and we give them, the platform to enact that. We build relationships and trust in the community, and food is just our language and our tool for that. so that we can address those kind of root causes to why people are hungry in the first place. And so, I could probably talk all day about it. I know I only have a few minutes. If you want to talk after, I'd be happy to. And thank you for your support. Every little bit goes a long way. So for every dollar we raise, we can distribute about $5 worth of produce to people who need it. And so it's going to be huge as we continue on. So thank you. Did I put my mask? Just kidding. Here we go.
Thank you for your gifts, both here, those of you that are here, and those of you that are online. May these gifts be used in support of Boulder Valley. Thank you very much.
As we close, I offer gratitude once again to Reverend Summer and Reverend Carlton for joining us this morning. It's really good to have you with us, even under these circumstances. And to remind all of us about the resources that are available, to reach out to Reverend Dana or myself or the Caring Committee for support and a listening ear, or for assistance and financial help. We're here for you. We close with these words, this poem called The Year as a House. Think of the year, this new year. Think of the year as a house. Doors flung wide in welcome, thresholds swept and waiting, a graced spaciousness opening and offering itself to you. Let it be blessed in every room. Let it be hallowed in every corner. Let every nook be a refuge and every object set to holy use. Let it be here that safety will rest. Let it be here that health will make its home. Let it be here that peace will show its face and love will find a way. Here, let the weary come, let the aching come, let the lost come, let the sorrowing come. Here, let them find their rest, and let them find their soothing, and let them find their place. Let them find their place and their delight. And may it be, please may it be in this house of a year that the seasons will spin in beauty. And may it be in these turning days that time will spiral in joy. And may it be that these rooms will fill with ordinary grace and light spill from every window to welcome the stranger home. Amen. And go in peace. Will you join in the response?
I neglected to thank Hayden for her talk, for her words. And I have to be totally honest, I had no idea 1 in 6 people in Boulder County were struggling, if that's the right word. I think it probably is. With that, I want to thank you all who have gathered here this morning. We invite you to stay with us, those of you that are online, in the Zoom room for a time of online fellowship and discussion. Thank you all.
Recording stopped.
Fred and Barb, do you want to introduce?
Oh, sure. I'm Barb